Hello everyone, today in this video we will fight against the atmosphere of our world around us, and this time we will refer to one of the terms that one can say is commonly known, and this term has French origin, and the word itself sounds as follows: Renaissance. Renaissance can be translated into English as rebirth. Of course, first what comes to our mind is the Italian Renaissance, that people started more and more referring to the sources from antiquity, so Latin and Greek literature that was preserved till that time, but not only. They started also referring to some ancient Hebrew sources, so it's mainly Bible. That's why later in the mm, next part of Renaissance, Reformation started. This is one of the reasons of the Reformation, because thanks to the writing skills, writing culture, one can always refer to the past in the accurate way, because texts as they were written, they are preserved. So this was the main, I would say, basic point of the Renaissance, that people were referring to the text of their, let's say, in some sense, even in more than some sense, cultural predecessors. And all of this coming back to the past, thanks to the writing cultures, always, or in majority of cases, result in some reforms, in some changes, in some new look at the old things. Of course, Renaissance didn't happen in the mid of the 14th century. Actually, 15th and 16th centuries, the apogee didn't happen from nowhere, because and not only in Italy, because small seeds of this process one can also observe in the mid of 15th and the second half of 15th century in Burgundy, for instance, at the court of Charles the Bold, the Duke of Burgundy, really genius, who finished miserably on the battlefield, but it doesn't discredit his achievements as a ruler of Burgundy. And he was also fan of ancient texts, especially Greek and Latin ones, and he was trying to patronize artists and scholars who were familiar with this type of knowledge. So we see that the term Renaissance is not so simple, and it's not so easy to define it, but it happened mainly in Italy, but not only. In other cultures, one would say Renaissances also happen, like there were periods of flourishing science in the Islamic world, a little bit in Indian world and in Chinese world, like Song Dynasty time. So especially 11th century AD, but these renaissances in the civilizations outside European continent were not so massive and were not so extreme as it happened in Europe, that it actually transformed all ways of thinking, and also on a longer run undermined the religion dominated thinking of the medieval period. It didn't happen to this extent as of now in the civilizations that are placed outside Europe. So that's why European Renaissance was, in this sense, such a unique phenomenon. And thanks to this period, we also have a more practical treatise about politics. Of course, Niccolo Machiavelli. Who else? And later Thomas Hobbes. Who else? Two great geniuses, one from Italy, one from England, respectively, and many, many more things. That's why I always encourage you to read classic works about Renaissance, like book by Jakob Burckhardt, Swiss scholar from Basel from 19th century, and his beautiful book Italian Renaissance, or the full culture is the culture of the Italian Renaissance, and that one can really enjoy. It's written with this typical 19th century passion for progress, and the conclusion for today is that when the rigid ideology or religion driven, so in my opinion it's ideology, when ideology driven thinking is getting weakened and we come back to the text of our cultural predecessors, then progress is possible, and in most cases problems happens in such circumstances. But first, ideology driven thinking should be weakened, and we should always look at the brightest periods of our past, then progress will happen. Now we are dominated by quasi-religious ideology of neo-Marxism. That's why progress is stopped, because thinking is being restrained by this ideological nonsense. I hope that soon we will experience another renaissance that will be complete, like the one from the early modern era of European history. All the best, have a nice day, bye.